Hey guys, welcome to Metal Legal Chess. And in this video, we are gonna see the advantage and the intricacies of the bishop pair. First things first, what is a bishop pair? A bishop pair means when you have the bishops of your both colors, and the way it helps you is by controlling all sort of squares on the chessboard. A light square bishops gives you the control of all the light squares on the chessboard, which are 32, and the dark square bishops gives you the control of all the 32 dark squares. There are some sort of bishop advantages. One example could be when your opponent has one bishops and you have a bishop pair, whereas two bishops versus two knights. When there are two bishops versus two knights, then the advantage is magnified, and that is just something brilliant. But when your opponent has one bishop and you have the bishop pair, then the way to play it is to focus primarily on that square where your opponent doesn't have a bishop. For example, in this position, I would like you to pause and think and evaluation of this position. This position, we have a dark square bishop, the opponent has light square bishop and doesn't have a dark square bishop. So the way we gonna improve our position and capitalize our advantage is by making some play on the dark squares. One of my favorite ways, or one of the best methods you would say, is to just make pawn breaks. So similarly, when there are more pawns on the chessboard, then your advantage tends to get lower. Why? Because the bishop pair, like bishops, like the free positions. Bishops are very strong. They move diagonally and everything like that, and they tend to do really, really better when there are less pawns on the chessboard, and just some sort of pawn breaks coming in, just some sort of dynamism. For example, there are 7 to 8 pawns on the chessboard. You like white has 7, black has 7, then the knights can be supported by the pawns, and that is just not going to be a good position. Whereas if there are some less pawns, like 3 or 4 pawns on the chessboard with some pawn breaks coming up, then black's position, sorry, the position with the bishop pair is going to excel. And here it is black to play. I would like you to just pause the video and think for a few minutes. All right. 3, 2, 1. This position is black to play, and this was played by the Ohio champion Dalton Perrine, the FIDE master from Ohio. And yeah, this position is black to play, and Dalton played a very nice move, which is this move, knight to h5, trying to capitalize the bishop pair. If in the game would have played this move, bishop g5, then it would have been a dubious move due to the simple move f6, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, takes, and e5. Boom. Black has a very strong center. Black has the bishop pair. The rook's gonna come to g8. We are gonna castle on the long side, and this is just a great position and very, very healthy position for the bishop pair. In the game was played bishop g3. Dalton captured this, knight g3, pawn g3, and pawn to g6. nbd2 was played, simple developing stuff. h5, just trying to gain some space on the king side and developing the bishop, maybe to h6 to g7. We are not committing it yet. In the game was played this move, b3. As you can see that white is giving some pawn breaks, and I just mentioned that the more pawn breaks you give, it gets better and better for the position with the bishops. So technically white is just helping himself lose. Takes, rook c8. The simple idea, the knight comes here, just some simple forks and something like that, slightly improving the position, making sure every piece plays into the game. Bishop g7. Now this bishop might look like it's doing nothing, but nah. This bishop is doing a lot on this diagonal. These pawns might think that they're making a perfect, just sort of blockade or something, but no, the blast is gonna come, the things are gonna emasculate, and the bishops pairs are just gonna demonstrate themselves. And the game was played knight h4. White attacks one of our bishops. We don't exactly want to give it away. So bishop d7 would have been a fine move, but that's just a bit too passive, and I don't like going passive. So in the game was played bishop g4. Now e5 is coming, the bishops are doing good, and white has to consider before playing bishop e2, cause we can just capture and his king has to stay in the center. So just give it some time. Now having the bishop here doesn't mean that you're just going to win the game in a second or something like that, but it gives you a very significant advantages, which makes the tactics come in your favor and just the position to be better for you, more opportunities, more good positions, and just a winning game if you are playing principal. All right, so bishop g5 was played, and here let's move on to the another position from the same game. Here it is black to play. I would like you to pause the video and think what should black play here. All right, revealing the answer in 3, 2, 1. The correct move here is the brilliant move, pawn to e5. This is how you exactly demonstrate the power of bishops. This is how you open up your position. This is how you get play with the bishops. And this is how you improve your position. When you play this move pawn to e5, then essentially you are just giving a very crucial pawn break in the center, considering that his king is also in the center and you just want to open your bishops. It looks like a very hard move to find, but if you think that it is possible. Obviously, taking with the d pawn is a blunder due to this very simple checkmate. Taking with the f pawn could have been an interesting move, but then the bishop simply captures here. You still can't take the bishop, otherwise there's the checkmate. And if the king goes to, let's say, f2, you're just going to move the bishop back. Queen is coming to c7. The bishops are showing its power, and we can see how weak his dark squares are. It's going to be a game over. In the game was played this move, knight back, and the castle, simple, just developing some pieces. Bishop d3 again would have been a blunder, which simply walks into e4, so we are not going to see that. F e5, again we can go knight e5 because our position is very strong. It's e1 worth to sacrifice a knight, a piece, and bishop g3 is coming. The knight can't capture as queen e2 would be a checkmate, and this position is clearly better for black with the rooks coming in. Too much pressure down the file, and that's it. All right. So here in the game was played this move, which is bishop e2, ed4, and this position is very good because we are trading more pawns. Our rook is going to come to e file. Our bishops are very, very happy with the pawn trades, and the rooks are going to look happy too. The final blow in this position, which is a simple black position. Again, a very simple subtle move I would like you to find. 3, 2, 1. Rook f e8. Very simple move we should keep in our mind to get all of our pieces into the game before we are starting to attack. The f2 square is mined here, guys. Note that. Because king f2, we can just give this tactic and he loses his queen. Obviously, if queen draws d4, then we are going to go here. He can't capture as the knight will be pinned. So we can just capture the queen. And the king goes there. We can just capture, win the knight. And this position is just dead lost for white. So in the game was played this move, king to f1, trying to run away. Nevertheless, we play this move, rook e3. Notice that how we are capitalizing on the dark squares, making sure all of our pieces improve. And when the point comes, when the movement comes, the bishops are just going to be very useful. In fact, all these advantages you're having is just because of the bishop pair. So it's not like when you have the bishop pair, you have to do something crazy with the bishop. No, you just have to gradually improve your position. You have to give and look for more pawn breaks to open up the position. And you have to play on the squares where your opponent doesn't have a bishop. That is going to help you maximize the advantage. Knight here, just rerouting the knight to a better place as all the action is going on the king side, maneuvering it. The knight goes here, the knight joins the game. Another rook joins the game. The queen is already doing good. And here some tactics are born to work when such things happen. And that is why there's a time to convert one position into another. The game is practically just over. You capture, discover attacks, and I don't even need to see this position. Game over, guys. So this was the game. Let's see the game. How a very strong game it was over in just 25 moves. d4, knight f6, c5, d5, knight c6, queen b6, just developing the queen. c4, kind of blocking the position. Bishop f5. Obviously, you can't capture here because of this simple move, and the rook is trapped. Queen goes to c1, knight h5. Having a game where the bishops are doing really good and just some tiny advantage of converting the bishop, just getting the rook into the game, getting the bishop into the game, going back, f4, a weakening move, just trying to think that you're going to close the position, making an outpost for your knight can come back. But nah, the bishops are bishops. I'm going to do the f e5 anyways, and I am going to make sure you suffer a lot. Come here, boom, boom, rook e8, getting the piece into the game. And believe it or not, just 18 moves, this position is already lost. And boom, white resigns here.
Hey, check this video out to make sure that you get more important information to bring your chess to the next level.